The following contest is scheduled for one fall. On the way to the ring, from Colorado Springs, Colorado, weighing in at 275 pounds, Bobby Lashley. Residing in Atlanta, Georgia, weighing in at 234 pounds, Benoit.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome to Raw, live from Memphis, Tennessee. I'm Jim Ross, here with Jerry the King Lawler.
It's always great coming home to Memphis, JR, and I personally guarantee my hometown fans the show of a lifetime.
Oh, there's no doubt about that, King. The Raw superstars are fired up. So let's get this show on the road. Excellent count. What brings us? That went nowhere.
I know that Lashley's a big, strong guy, but there's a lot of big, strong guys out there. What makes him so special?
How about the fact that he's a three-time National Wrestling Champion, or the fact that he's a four-time Wrestling All-American, or...
Okay, so he's got some amateur wrestling credentials. Big deal. This isn't the minor leagues, JR. This is the WWE. Show off all you want, but it's not going to win you the match.
No, but getting the crowd behind you can certainly give you the edge. He went straight for the pin. No flies on him. There's the kick out. I thought that was it for sure. I think this crowd has decided to exercise the right of free speech.
There's the reversal. I think he's really cranking up the pressure on that hole, JR.
He sure is. There's no doubt he's looking for the submission right here. He's got his opponent locked in.
This is a mistake, JR. Everyone knows that overconfidence costs superstars matches.
That might be true, King, but all I see is a very confident superstar who's got everything going his way. He's going up. This could backfire.
Benoit thinks he's the toughest superstar in the WWE, but I think he's lying through his tooth.
Will you stop? How can you possibly not like Chris Benoit, King? How can you not have respect for his accomplishments?
What accomplishments? Taking 16 years to finally win the World Heavyweight title? I'm supposed to kiss his feet for finally winning the title after failing time and time again?
That's despicable. You should be ashamed of yourself, King. Benoit has put his body, his entire life on the line, time and time again.
Oh, man, I've been in this hole before, JR. This brings back some bad memories.
I can understand why, King. I can't even imagine the pain being inflicted here. Sounds like this crowd's got something on their minds, King.
Uh-oh. Talk about a hole you don't want to find yourself in.
No kidding. This will rearrange your anatomy. Very few superstars has so completely dominated their opponents the way this young stud Lashley has done in his career thus far.
Yeah, and how much of that has to do with the fact that he's on SmackDown, JR? Everyone knows that the big boys play on Raw, and I'm not sure Lashley would be able to hang with our superstars.
What a reversal.
I think it's pretty obvious which way this one's going to go, JR.
Well, from my perspective, this is still anybody's match.
I'd like to see things from your perspective, JR, but I'd have to get my head out of my rear end first.
And Lord knows it's been up there for so long that that would be no easy feat.
I've been looking forward to this match all night, JR. I can't believe it's finally underway.
This has been a hotly... The submission has been expertly applied, and now it's just a matter of time.
That's right, JR. You've either got to break the hole or get broken by it. Wow! Listen to these fans, JR.
You can fool some of the people all of the time. Oh, boy. Of all the things that can happen to you in a ring, that's got to be one of the most painful.
No kidding, JR. That's some very delicate equipment down there.
Now that is just about the last position you want to find yourself in.
JR, if you can think of a worse one, I'd love to hear it, because I sure can't. Well, from the looks of things, it's not hard to tell how this one's going to go.
What are you talking about, King? I think this is still an extremely competitive match that could go either way.
You know, JR, it's obvious that the only exercise you get is stretching the truth or jumping to conclusions.
Well, judging from the shape I'm in, I don't appear to be doing too much of either, King. You're looking pretty fit, though, I must say.
This match has the potential to be an instant classic, and I think these fans are too stupid to realize it.
How can you say that, King? How can you insult the intelligence of these...
Climbing up the turnbuckle isn't bad. It's all the ways you could come down that hurt. Did you ever think you'd be watching these superstars compete against each other here tonight, JR?
I had a feeling their paths were going to cross sooner or later, and I'm glad I'm here to see.
Me too. It almost makes it worth having to sit. He's got his opponent locked into submission, JR. This could be it.
It could indeed. He might force his opponent to tap out right here.
After some of the things we've seen in this ring, JR, I think we'd better remind the folks at home not to try this stuff themselves.
That's for damn sure. He's got that submission hold locked in.
He sure does, JR. He might make his opponent tap out right here. I am so glad Chris Benoit isn't the World Heavyweight Champion anymore, JR. I couldn't stand it when Raw was being represented by someone like him.
Oh, yeah. What a tragedy it was to have a champion who was utterly devoted to the business and to the fans, and who always went out to that ring and gave 110%.
This has gone beyond just being a match, JR. I think these superstars genuinely hate each other.
There's no love lost between these competitors, that's for sure. If looks could kill, somebody would be pushing up daisies.
And you've got to admit, that makes for a much more interesting match, JR.
It sure does. But I just hope these superstars can settle their differences in the ring and leave it at that. Submission is locked in. This could be huge.
Oh my gosh, JR! You can't go on without tapping out to this.
This Lashley he's got the crowd and his opponent in the palm of his hand.
That can change in an instant, especially if you let your opponent catch his breath. I think these superstars are getting some feedback from the crowd, JR.
Nothing wrong with that, King. That's what we like to hear.
These superstars sure aren't going easy on each other here tonight.
What you expect, King? This isn't ballet, you know.
Oh, really, JR? Gosh, tell me more about your in-ring experience.
Well, I've got a 10-fall victory over Triple H to my credit. How about you?
I've got to say, JR, I'm really impressed by what we've seen here tonight.
How could you not be, King? These are some of the finest athletes in all of sports entertainment.
I know that, JR. I'm just saying that this has been a great match so far.
It has indeed, King. And I think, oh man, I think we're about to see a high-risk move here.
I don't think
his opponent's down. And now he's sharing a piece of his mind.
He's going to have to eat those words by the end of this match, JR.
He's climbing up. I'm not so sure this is a good idea.
Now, that ask you who you want to win this matchup, JR, but it's been pretty obvious since the start of the show. Wow, there's a hole you don't want to find yourself in, JR.
You sure don't, King. We've seen many a superstar tap out to this one.
Listen to the crowd, JR. I think they've got something to say to these superstars.
And if they're smart, they'll listen. Remember, without these fans, these superstars are out of a job.
I don't care how tough you are, JR. No one can take this kind of pain for long.
You're absolutely right, King. We've seen many superstars tap out to this very hole.
Boy, it's obvious these superstars have done their homework on each other.
They sure have. And this is one hell of an exam.
Let's hope it's not their final exam, JR. I'd love to see them go at it again.
Well, if I think the fans have their way, you'll get your wish, King.
I don't know where he thinks he's going. This could be a mistake. You better tell the cameraman not to go for any close-ups on Chris Benoit, JR. We don't want people's TV screens cracking.
I don't think Benoit ever won any beauty contest, King. That's probably because he was too busy putting his body on the line year after year to rise to the very top of this business. Good Lord! Listen to the sound of flesh and bone impacting off those steel steps.
You'd have to be an idiot not to take advantage of those steps, JR. And he's no idiot. You know, JR, when I saw this match on paper, I wasn't too sure about it. But it's turned out a lot better than I thought it would.
I'm not at all surprised, King. I knew this was going to be a terrific matchup.
Oh, come on, JR. You're just talking through your hat. Speaking of hats, when are you going to get rid of that silly thing anyway?
Right about the time you stop wearing that crown, I'd say. This Lashley is so young and so impressive. I can only imagine the career he's got ahead of him.
Well, you know what they say, JR. The candle that burns twice as bright burns half as long.
Maybe so, King. But any superstar who earns himself a spot at WrestleMania in his rookie year is one to watch, as far as I'm concerned. This capacity crowd is making their opinions known tonight.
They sure are, JR, and I love to hear it. These superstars are beating the heck out of each other, and this crowd can't get enough of it.
It's what they pay. What's he got planned here?
What a spear! That'll take the fight right out of you. Can you believe we actually get paid to do this job, JR?
It's like a dream come. We could be looking at a pinball here, folks.
Here's your winner, Bobby Lashley.